I'm here with my good buddy Chad Ward from Whiskey Bent Barbecue and Traeger Grills, and today he's going to be helping me cook the perfect Christmas prime rib. Let's get started. The first thing that we want to do to get our prime rib going is go ahead and get our vegetables and everything mixed up in our roasting pan here that our prime rib is going to set on top of. You good with that, Chad?
Yes, sir. Let's get it rolling.
All right.
Time to create some flavor.
That's right. So I'm going to take 16 ounces of mushrooms. All right, we're going to get in some garlic, whole garlic cloves. We're going to take our thyme here, a bundle of it. We're going to take about half of our rosemary here and get it in the pan.
A mirepoix here.
Which is some chopped carrots, onions, and celery. And that's about a pound of that we bought chopped up already at the store. We're going to put a couple sticks of Kerrygold butter in. Now Chad is tearing all the caps off of the stems of the mushrooms.
Baby Bellas, pound of those.
Now, if you want more mushrooms in this, you can always add another pound or two in if you're trying to feed a lot of people. It's completely up to you. I'm also going to take a carton of beef stock and go ahead and put in here.
Is that the old 32 ouncer there?
Old 32 ouncer here. Now, I've also took and I mixed up 16 ounces of my beef injection that we're going to mix into this prime rib. So I've got a half a box of beef stock left over. I'm going to go ahead and add this other half a box in here as well.
So for those of you not great at math, that would be 48 ounces.
Once you get all your herbs and your mushrooms in your pan, you can see we're not cooking a lot of mushrooms. You can always add more like we said. Now we're going to take this and I'm going to take a little bit of my beef rub and season in here. Not a lot, because you got to remember we're going to season that prime rib real graciously. We're gonna come back with a little bit of garlic butter on this, and that's it. Now, you're probably wondering what we have potatoes out here for. I'm gonna take and stick these potatoes on. Our grill's running at 375 degrees with a little bit of pecan pellets in it. We're gonna stick this on, we're gonna stick our jus on, and we're gonna work with our prime rib, then we'll get it on top of this. I wanna roast these potatoes so we can make a good old mash at the end and tie all this dish together. We're back. Our vegetables and our jus and our potatoes are on the grill. Now, we've got our 8-pound prime rib from Kevin Green at the Butcher Shoppe in Pensacola, Florida. I called Kevin, told him I needed a prime rib for my family for the holidays. He cut, trimmed, and tied this thing perfect, shipped it to me in 4 days. It was at my door from the phone call to eating it. Now, all we have to do, I've got 16 ounces of beef stock and a quarter cup of my beef injection mixed up. We're gonna get it injected into this prime rib, and then we're gonna get it seasoned up.
Yeah, with this injection, he's just gonna be driving more beef flavor into this already super rich, super delicious prime rib. I mean, hey, nothing wrong with putting flavor on top of flavor, old boy.
Nothing wrong with it. And you can see, you just gotta work your needle around, pull it out, just swell it up. And what you wanna do is work your needle, you wanna pull out as you're pushing in. And try not to squirt it everywhere on you and get it all over the camera equipment and the microphone.
Kind of like SeaWorld, man, don't splash zone.
That's it.
I think people too, when you're injecting, as soon as you start to see that rise up and you start pulling out and spreading that injection across, a lot of people like to get in there and blow it up like a basketball. We're not trying to go that hardcore, just get a little extra flavor in there.
I think really just spreading it out. You see me skipping around here. You can go in a checkerboard pattern. You can kind of dance around, whatever you want to do, roll it over. I just really want to get it in that spinalis and the heart of that ribeye,
That's got a nice, now that you mention that too, it's got a nice spinalis on it.
It does.
Really nice. You know what, Heath, I'll just take the spinalis portion when we cut this thing up. I'll leave you the eye, I'm willing to take that sacrifice if you need to.
Well, I mean, you're such a good friend. I can't let you do that by yourself. The spinalis is just so good. It's the most tender part of the ribeye. Honestly, it melts in your mouth. Right behind the filet, the spinalis is probably one of the best cuts of meat, wouldn't you say?
I would agree. A lot of people call it the ribeye cap. On a prime rib, it's pretty easy to see where it is. There's Heath's getting that going. There's a fat, you can see this fat ring right here. And so inside of the fat ring is gonna be the eye where the outside's the spinalis. And you can see it real good on that side. So you can see.
So you can see how the spinalis wraps around the eye here, and as it goes on down toward the chuck end, it kind of disappears and forms into what they call a trout heart muscle. And to me, this trout heart on this end, that's a big part of spinalis. You can see how the eye gets bigger as it goes down on this end though. So we're just gonna keep injecting and get as much in here as we can. And we may not be able to get about 12 ounces in here out of the 16. Now the last thing to do on our prime rib is get it seasoned up. We're gonna use my garlic butter rub as a base layer, and we're also gonna use my beef rub on it.
Tag teaming it.
Woo. All right, let's get a layer of beef rub on it.
Let's do it. Remember, this is a big cut of meat, so you can take plenty of seasoning.
Plenty. Salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder. It's gonna take a lot of it. You gotta think, you're only gonna get the outside of that bark right there is all you're gonna get. All right. Now, I always like laying a few herbs up on top of my prime rib when I'm cooking. You ever do that?
Yep, sure do.
We're gonna get it over here on our grill and get it on. Now, this is an 8-pound prime rib. It's gonna take somewhere between 4 to 5 hours, wouldn't you say, Chad?
I would say, yep.
We're cooking at 375 degrees. Just kind of depends on the wind. If it's pushing on the grill a little bit, it could get done a little faster. If it's not, it could take a little longer. Remember, we're going by cook time, not really by, how much time it's taking. Let me rephrase that. We're cooking the tenderness, and we're only gonna carry this prime rib today. What are we gonna carry it to, Chad? My magic number is about 124.
But I'm right in there too, man. I like to be just right over that rare to medium rare. So yeah, I think 124 sounds just about right. After the carryover, we'll still be 128, 130.
That's right. All right, let's get it on the pit. All right, we're back. We got our potatoes off the grill. All we did was cut them out of the skins and get them in a bowl with a stick of butter. We got to mash them up, and I've chopped up a little bit of rosemary. We've got 6 ounces of blue cheese here, some pepper, some everyday rub, some sour cream. We're gonna get these mixed up, no particular order, and tell them, Chad, mashed potatoes, there's really not a recipe, right?
We cook it to taste, baby.
It's just however you love. Keep throwing ingredients in, and you get it like you like. This is a blue cheese, rosemary, mashed potato blend. It's gonna go great with that prime rib that we're serving today. Let's get this mixed up.
So we gotta mash it in there too. That's kind of getting the double, a little more sour cream. Then we'll see how that does consistency wise.
Oh yeah, that'll be good with that blue cheese.
A little bit of that every day in there. Blue cheese.
Add about half that blue cheese.
Yeah, let it crush up a little bit. A little bit of that rosemary too.
Now I'm a big rosemary
I
fan.
love rosemary, man. The smell of it, the taste of it, I feel like it's great.
Now, I'm gonna stop mashing these, and I'm gonna take my kind of spatula here and work them around.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Heath. I think sometimes people can kind of overwork and over mash potatoes, make it into more of a puree.
Well, I kind of like mine, I don't know about you, with a little bit of texture
Yep.
to it. I don't want them all the way just silky smooth. I like a little bit of texture in my potatoes.
I call it a rustic potato.
A rustic potato. What I'm talking about.
There's a little bit more of this every day on there now that we...
Let's add a little bit more of that blue cheese to make it half of it. Oh, that's good.
There we go.
Now, if you're not a blue cheese fan, you can always swap this out for something that you like. I'm a blue cheese fan with beef. What about you?
I love blue cheese. I feel like that that funkiness kind of cuts through all the richness, especially on a Wagyu prime rib, so I think it'd be a perfect pairing.
Now, I'm gonna take You want to taste this, or you would think we need a little bit more?
I think we should do a little more sour cream, yeah.
I think it needs just a tad too.
That's a tad.
That'll work. Let's get that spread out.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
Now we're gonna get this in that Traeger cast iron dish area, maybe top it with a little more everyday rub and a little more blue cheese, and we're gonna let that thing get bubbly and browned up on the Traeger here while that prime rib is finishing off. I think that looks good.
I think
and once
so
you
too.
get it mixed up, you take a greased, just, what would you say it is, about a number 10 cast iron?
Sure is.
About a number 10 cast iron pan. Get your mashed potatoes in.
That's wrong. I don't want to be right, old boy.
Now remember this, we used to use 4 potatoes because we wasn't making but 1 skillet, but if you need to bump that to 6 or 8, you add more milk and more sour cream and more blue cheese and more rosemary to your potatoes, and it'll come out perfect just like you want. Now I'm gonna take a little bit more of this.
The finisher.
A finisher, baby, that's right. A little bit of that, sprinkle with a little bit of that blue cheese on top there. Now, I'd say let's get this over here beside that prime rib. Let's check the doneness in it. It's gonna tell us what we got. And we ain't gonna like much for it letting it rest, and we're gonna be ready to eat.
Yes, sir, we are. I can't wait.
Welcome back. Our holiday prime rib is off of our Traeger. It had a total cook time of about 3 hours and 15 minutes. All we did, just to recap, was put some vegetables and mushrooms, au jus in a pan. The recipe will be down below. We put our cooling rack on top of it, seasoned our prime rib after we injected it, and let it go. That's all we did. We pulled it at 124 to 125 degrees. Our baked potatoes over here baked for almost 2 hours. We pulled them out, mashed them with some butter, some sour cream, a little bit of rosemary and some blue cheese, and a few seasonings. We throwed them back on the Traeger to get all nice and golden up. We took our mushrooms here and dug them out of our pan and strained our au jus, and we're ready for a heck of a Christmas meal, ain't we, Chad?
Let's eat, Bubba.
Let's eat. Let me get on some gloves here. And I also snuck away and I whooped up a little creamy horseradish yesterday. You want to let those flavors marry well in the fridge before you make any kind of a creamy horseradish sauce.
And the nice thing about it is it's one more thing to check off your list day of that you ain't got to worry with.
That's right.
Yeah, that's even the same way with these potatoes. You could have the potatoes cooked, everything else, have the dish assembled, and just pop it on 45 minutes before you serve.
You're exactly right. The only recommendation I make when you do that is go ahead once it's cold and put a few slivers of butter on top of it when you go to reheat it, and make sure you cover your cast iron or whatever you're baking in for the first 30, 45 minutes, would you say, to let it warm up before you take the top off to golden brown, to ensure that it's warm all the way through and you don't dry the top out on your potatoes. All right, let me move this here. Let's get a good reveal shot of this prime rib. Move that. You're gonna grab that platter for me?
I got you.
All right, let's get in here with this trusty Victorinox knife. Would you say that's about right, sir?
That's about right. That's about half for me,
Let's
half for you.
see what we got.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that's pretty solid, wouldn't you?
Yes, sir.
That right there is gonna make a pretty solid meal from the Butcher Shoppe down in Pensacola, Florida. I'm not gonna squeeze this because I'm not one of those guys. I don't wanna lose all that juice. But just remember, if you like what we're doing on our channel, be sure to like, subscribe, follow along with your friends. You never know who's gonna pop in on my camera, show up, and you might be staying the night, right, Chad?
That's right, buddy.
That's right. We'll see you next week.